Welcome back to our study. Continuing the story of Jacob, the Jacob the supplanter. We are going to look at the deceived, the deceiver deceived, the deceiver deceived. So if somebody asked me to retitle this topic, I would say payback time. Because based on our study before, Jacob deceived his father into giving him the blessing and the birthright. He pretended that he was his brother while his brother was out in the field getting the venison for his father. Jacob came in dressed like his brother, and even though the father still believed it wasn't Esau, he went ahead and blessed him. So according to Genesis 29, let's just read a few verses quickly. It said, and Jacob continued his journey, and he came to the land of the people of the east. He looked and saw a well in the field. 3 flocks of sheep were lying nearby. Because they drank water from the well, a large stone covered the mouth of the well. All the flocks would gather there. The shepherd would roll away the stone from the well and water the sheep. Then they would put the stone back in its place. Jacob said to the shepherds there, my brothers, where are you from? Remember, we are studying the deceiver deceived. Where are you from? They answered, we are from Haran. Then Jacob said, do you know Laban, grandson of Nahor? They answered, we know him. Then Jacob asked, how is he? They answered, oh, he is well. Look, his daughter Rachel is coming now with his sheep. Jacob said, but look, it is still the middle part of the day. It's not time for the sheep to be gathered for the night. So give them water and let them go back into the pasture. But they said, we cannot do that until all the flocks are gathered. Then we will roll the stone from the mouth of the well and water the sheep. While Jacob was talking with the shepherds, Rachel came with her father's sheep. It was her job to take care of the sheep. Then Jacob saw Laban's daughter Rachel and Laban's sheep. I want to interject here. Laban is Jacob's uncle, his mother's brother. So he went to the well and rolled a stone from its mouth. Then he watered Laban's sheep. Now Laban was the brother of Rebekah, and that's Jacob's mother. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and cried. He told her that he was from her father's family. He said that he was the son of Rebekah. So Rachel ran home and told her father. Remember, deceiver being deceived. While Laban heard the news about his sister's son Jacob, Laban ran to meet him. Laban hugged him and kissed him and brought him to his house. Jacob told Laban everything that had happened. Then Laban said, you are my own flesh and blood. So Jacob stayed there a month. Then Laban said to Jacob, you are my relative, but it is not right for you to keep on working for me without pay. What would you like me to pay you? Now Laban had 2 daughters. The older was Leah, the younger was Rachel. The deceiver deceived. But Rachel was very beautiful, and Leah had weak eyes. So Jacob loved Rachel. So he said to Laban, let me marry your younger daughter Rachel. If you will, I will work 7 years for her. Laban said, well, it would be better for her to marry you than someone else. So stay here with me. So Jacob worked for Laban 7 years so he could marry Rachel. But it seemed to him just a few days. When you're in love, time passes by quickly. This was because he loved Rachel very much. After 7 years, Jacob said to Laban, give me Rachel so that I may marry her. The time I promised to work for you is over. So Laban gave a feast for all the people there. That evening, Laban brought his daughter Leah. You see, the deception starts to Leah. Jacob and Leah had sexual relations together. Laban gave his slave girl Zilpah to his daughter to be her servant. In the morning, Jacob saw that he had the wrong person. He had Leah. He said to Laban, what have you done to me? Payback time. I worked hard for you so I could marry Rachel. Why did you trick me? Laban said, in our country, we do not allow the younger daughter to marry before the older daughter. but complete the full week of your marriage ceremony with Leah. I will give you Rachel to marry also, but you must serve me 7 more years. So Jacob did this and completed the week with Leah. Then Laban gave him his daughter Rachel as a wife. Laban gave his the maid Bilhah to his daughter Rachel to be her servant. So Jacob married Rachel also, and Jacob loved Rachel more than Leah. Jacob worked for Laban an additional 7 years just to get Rachel. But I want to interject here. A lot of times, I'm sure we think that Jacob had Leah for 7 years, and then he had to wait another 7 years before he got Rachel. But a Jewish wedding usually lasts 7 days. They last pretty much a week. The festivities last for a week. So what all Laban asks Jacob to do, just have the festivities for Leah, and after that you could get Rachel. Just remember, you're going to still have to work your additional 7 years to get Rachel, and Jacob didn't mind. He did not mind because he was really in love with Rachel. And he didn't love Leah. But as we read the story and we get into it, you're going to see how the Lord blessed Leah. And the Lord, it seems as if the Lord didn't bless Rachel. But the Lord blessed Rachel also. And they both had children. So Jacob conspired with his mother, just going back in time, conspired with his mother to deceive the father. So now Laban is now conspiring with his daughter to trick Jacob. My brothers and my sisters, just remember, God is not mocked. Whatever you do, it is going to show up someplace. It is going to show up. So let us always ask the Lord to help us to do the right thing. The deceiver deceived. And if you go back in time, Abraham did his deception. He passed it down to his son. Now the son passed it down to his son. And now even his mother side of the family was into deception also. But God promised Jacob that he will be okay. And sometimes Jacob didn't want to trust the Lord. He did things his own way. But all along, God was with Jacob, even during the times of deception. So the first thing, we want to go back to what we just read in Genesis 29. The first thing that Jacob sees when he arrived back at the place of his destination, that's his mother's land, is a stone. Perhaps a hint referring back to the stone of Bethel, which signifies God's presence. It is this stone that will, after all, give Jacob the opportunity to interact with Rachel. When Jacob hears from the standing shepherds that Rachel is coming with her sheep to water the flock, he asks them to roll away the stone. And they refuse. So Jacob just pulled up his, sleeves. And in today's vernacular, we would say Jacob just manned up. And he went and he rolled the stone away all by himself. And because of that encounter, he was able to introduce himself to Rachel. Most women always like, men with muscle. Nobody wants a weak man. But Jacob proved that he was a man of strength. And Rachel was very happy. And how we know Rachel was happy? The account in Genesis told us she went back and she told her family. The first contact between Jacob and Rachel was productive. And brethren, the first encounter we meet with God, 2 things happen. We either leave the same or changes do take place. I pray today that as we study this lesson, our encounter with God, we'd have a productive encounter with God and changes will happen. Jacob loved Rachel. He loved her so much that he worked an additional 7 years. And in first encounter, he was supposed to work 7 years for Jacob. And the Bible said those days flew. They went by as few days. And brethren, when we are in love with the Lord, there should be nothing too hard for us to do to God. But today we live in a selfish world. It's always I, me, and mine. And a lot of times, we sing, I'd go where you want me to go. But when the Lord sends us, we always have an excuse. And, Jacob understands now what it means to be the victim of deception. Ironically, God teaches Jacob about his own deception through Laban's deception. Although Jacob, as a deceiver, knows well what deception means. Now, when it's his turn, when the shoe is on the other foot, he is surprised when he is a victim of deception. Does he ask the question? He had the nerve, he had the audacity to ask his long uncle, why have you deceived me? And the reasoning behind that question, Jacob knew that deception is wrong. Brethren, a lot of times we ask questions. And the only reason we ask questions is because we want to do things our way. Because, somebody might ask, so what about the Sabbath? If I don't keep the Sabbath, would I go to heaven? You know what the Bible said already. And you know exactly what the Lord expects of us. So let us not ask questions that we know the answer to. Let us not ask questions that we know the answer to, but let us by God's grace. Let us by God's grace. And the only way that we can live successful life is by asking the Lord to help us, because it says not by might, it's not by power, but by the grace of God that we can navigate this terrain of life and navigate it successfully, because the Lord promised that he will be on our side. Let us be obedient. Let us be obedient. And whatever is wrong, we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. Whatever is wrong, let us ask the Lord to help us not to be deceived, because it says God is not mocked. God is not mocked. Whatsoever we sow, we will reap. So let us ask the Lord to help us to sow that harvest of good fruits, so that we can hear from the Lord, well done, thou good and faithful servant.
All right, friends. If you enjoyed the study today but still have questions or comments, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at the link in the description box. Or come visit us at 346 Newport Street, Brooklyn, any and every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Remember, we love you, but God loves you best.